Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. There's a lot of activity over the internet and on social media this morning. And I had the pleasure, actually, of Kathy bringing my attention to a broadcast by Patricia Keegan, who I'm happy to say is a friend of mine here. And she was talking a lot of sense. And that's always good to hear. There are many people doing good work over the airwaves now, and we can only applaud their efforts, and very glad we are. The thing is this, that those of us who are spiritualists all agree on the basics, even if we come from different religious backgrounds or we have different religious beliefs. As spiritualists, we all agree on the absolute truth that life is continuous. As Doris Stokes, who is there looking at us over my shoulder, used to say, you cannot die for the life of you. Now, how do we know this? We don't ask people just to believe, have faith, and a few platitudes and some rituals and ceremonials, and that's that. Everything's going to be all right, and just believe what we tell you, and you will have eternal life. No, that's not actually true. So there are a lot of good people who are spreading untruth. That is, that you have to be in a particular organisation or group, a particular religion. You have to follow a particular prophet. You have to have a set of beliefs that you sign up for. Otherwise, you do not get to heaven. And even worse, these same organisations and religions will tell you that if you don't go to heaven, you're going to go to hell, which is the opposite of heaven. Now, this is not true. So now I'm not going to have a go at everybody or single out particular belief systems, but I'm going to promote ours, which is spiritualism, because I know that it is founded on absolute fact. You cannot get away from the fact that we can prove that everybody is spirit here and now, that you came from spirit, the great spirit. What do people think is God if they don't think that God is spirit? And that we go back to that world of spirit as spirit beings when our time here on the earth is finished with. Now, one of the things that we have to do, is prove what we say is the truth. How do we do that? We do it through mediumship. And some might say that even psychic abilities are a proof that we are more than just flesh and blood beings, that there is something more operating than just our 5 usual senses. Those of us who are lucky enough to have all 5, because many people do not have 5. So even more important is what we call that 6th sense, that sense that is outside of ourselves, that there is more to life than just the mundane, the material and the physical. So when I spoke yesterday, I was talking about how communication between the two worlds validates that experience for us as spiritualists. And as you know, I'm a Christian spiritualist because I follow the example and teaching of Jesus, and happy to do so. And I also like to say that the New Christian Spiritualist Society is really a society of people who are followers of the spiritual way, which is the way, in fact, that Jesus set out when he was here on the earth plane. and his followers followed him in that spiritual way. And it was all about the gifts of the Spirit, and all about healing, and all about knowing that there is something much more to life than this, and that there is eternal life. Now, as a writer myself and as an editor, I know that words get fiddled about with, that other people's writings get altered slightly. And I also understand that where people are writing down other people's thoughts and words, that they may well just jink them a little bit to suit their own philosophies, perhaps. So, it's always wise to look at any ancient text and any texts that are held to be sacred with just that little eye of skepticism that so often people apply to us. Really, we have fallen foul many a time of skeptics who have got closed minds, in fact. So I'm not telling you to have a closed mind, I'm telling you to have an open one. So what did I get prompted to talk about today? Now, you know that yesterday we had messages given, spiritual messages of upliftment and encouragement, given to the first 5 letters of the alphabet, whose initials came into the names of recipients. And today it will be FGHIJ. So if you have a name that begins with that, first, middle, or last, do listen out. And I know that those who love you, who all crowd around at these times, are looking to prompt the medium, who happens to be me at this time, into choosing a particular verse for you from my lovely old hymn book here. Here it is. This is shacked all around the world with me. It's looking a bit done in now, but happy I am. You know, they say that if you want to go into a spiritual household, look at some of the spiritual books they've got there, and anybody who's got a brand new looking Bible, don't bother. If they've got a battered old one, you can be sure that they've read it and have got some of the truth there for themselves. And the same thing goes for our spiritual books. And I hope at this time, I've written a book called The Spiritualist's Handbook, and you can get it on Amazon, by the way. And it has loads and loads of stuff in it, including a lot of our services that we have as ministers, and workshops, and items about mediums and pioneers of spiritualism, all sorts of stuff, 300 and odd pages of that. And my particular copy is very, very battered, I must say, and I suspect that lots of other people's are too. So here we are, you see, and I was prompted, first off, to read from this book because I asked myself. Now, I'm going to look to see what you're saying. I'll just move my screen. Hello, everyone. Oh, John. Well, nice hair, John says. I'll put that on, look, so everybody can see that John says. Now, John won't mind me saying that he was a student of mine, and particularly interested in trance. And that's something that brings me to my reading, because before I started this conversation with you, I did my usual prayer, of course, and as we call it, linked in and attuned myself to that higher level of consciousness that we all aspire to as mediums, and particularly on this occasion. And I was drawn to get myself a message, and this is also for you too, because it will actually kick off our morning together. And it was this. I'll just read you a couple of verses. The world has felt a quickening breath from heaven's eternal shore, and souls triumphant over death return to earth once more. For this we hold our jubilee, for this with joy we sing. O grave, where is thy victory? O death, where is thy sting? Our cypress wreaths are laid aside for amaranthine flowers, for death's cold wave does not divide the souls we love from ours. From pain and death and sorrow free, they join with us to sing, O grave, where is thy victory? O death, where is thy sting? Immortal eyes look from above upon our joys tonight, this morning, and souls immortal in their love in our glad songs unite. Across the waveless crystal sea, the notes triumphant ring. O grave, where is thy victory? O death, where is thy sting? Sweet spirits, welcome yet again, with loving hearts we cry, and peace on earth, goodwill to men, the angel hosts reply. From doubt and fear, through truth made free, with faith triumphant sing, O grave, where is thy victory? O death, where is thy sting? There. And that's what I got for myself and all of us while I was contemplating doing this talk this morning. There. So now I take care of my books. They don't look tatty. I see, Karen. Well, we're going to have an argument about that then. So you just take care of you should have a little sign made then. So when people like me come into your house and look at your bookshelf and think, she hasn't read them much then, saying, yes, I look after my books. There. And I'm very happy to see all of you. And I'll try not to keep staring at keep staring at this screen. Now then, you may wonder what some of that was about. Now, Lizzie Doughton wrote that. Lizzie Doughton was a very, very, very clever lady. And she was American. She came from a family that originally went to America from England. And she was a campaigner for civil rights, for the suffragette movement, for women's rights, for slaves to be freed. Of course, she was an abolitionist, as all spiritualists were and are. And it's just part of our knowledge that we are all one spirit, and our outer covering, our fleshly body, is no indication whatsoever of the spirit that is within each one of us. And we respect each one as another spirit person. And of course that applies to animals too, but we won't go into that at the moment. We're talking about Elizabeth Doughton, who was a wonderful poet, a writer of her time, and of course in the 19th century, when spiritualism was young, because it was born in 1848. So the other thing that she mentions in that is amaranthine flowers. Now, amaranthine is a purplish red colour, which of course we like. There's a beautiful colour. We like to think of it as the colour of wisdom, and it's there at the other end of the rainbow spectrum, and it has a wonderful vibration. And she talked about that, but also amaranthine also means undying and unfading. So there you are. Now you have a grasp on that. She was also somebody who admired other writers and other spiritual people, including Mrs. Hemans. Now, who is Mrs. Hemans? She wrote that splendid poem, The Boy Stood on the Burning Deck. Most people know about that, Casabianca. The boy stood on the burning deck from whence all but he had fled. And he was a great hero. He was a hero of mine when I was a child and I first read that poem. So how do we get messages for ourselves where we don't need to actually go out to find a medium or be in touch with anybody else? When we feel perhaps low in ourselves, when we feel perhaps a bit lost, when we have loved ones on the other side of life, we wonder if they hear us. We keep talking to them, but no answer. We look for signs. Perhaps we never get a sign. And that's the most frustrating thing of all, I know. But you see, signs are often there when we least expect them. So just keep a watch out for that, because you will get signs. And here are some coming up now. How do we get them? We get hold of a book like this. And now this message is going to be for the initial F. So if anybody's out there with the initial F on any of their names, please listen to this, because your loved ones are going to be sending a message through. There, now I've opened this. Now it says this to you. Let superstition be destroyed and falsehood cast away, that liberty may be enjoyed and truth hold sovereign sway. Let thought be free to all mankind, and reason's light illume the long benighted realms of mind, dispelling clouds of gloom. Let conscience rule us every day, that we may honour truth, and her supreme commands obey through life from early youth. Let kindness fill the human heart with sympathy for all, and bid us knowledge to impart, the mind to disenthrall. Let love prevail over every breast, and happiness abound. May all mankind be truly blessed, humanity be crowned. There. So that is for you, if you have an initial of F in your name. And I know that those that love you, those who love you in that world of spirit, are coming through at this time, pushing to give you that encouragement and upliftment to be true to yourself, because that's what you need to hear at this time. I have absolute trust that everything that we get from over there, because they are good spirits, are giving us the best they can, and that is a sign for you. So there, we now come on to the letter G. So if you have a G in your the beginning of one of your names, this one will be for you. And I did want to say to you that Lizzie Doughton was actually a trance medium. John, I should have mentioned that at the time, but the woman who wrote that lovely hymn, that poem that I read first, was also a very well-known orator for spirit and a trance medium herself. So here we are. This is for you if you have the initial G. God of the universe, whose hand hath sown with suns the fields of space, round which, obeying thy command, unnumbered worlds fulfil their race. How vast the region where thy will, existence, form, and order given, the cup of joy thou too dost fill, for all that grows, survives, and lives. Lord, while we thank thee, let us learn beneficence to all below. Those praise thee best, whose bosoms burn thy gifts on others to bestow. So at the peaceful hour of change, our souls the bonds of death shall tear, throughout the starry vast, to range thy bounty, to receive and share. There. So I don't know you for whom that message was given. If you've been noting that we have a space station and spacewalks going on, if you've seen those pictures beamed back to the Earth, of the Earth itself, and if you've seen and wondered at the vast universe that we inhabit, and the fact that we're just little specks, and yet we are so blessed with consciousness, individual consciousness, and know that out there is so much more than we understand at the moment down here in the scientific sense, and there is so much more to understand about this spirit world, and that we are all spirit. And I've no doubt that one day in the far distant future, when the Great Spirit thinks that the human race is ready for it, that we will actually receive more scientific knowledge than we have already, to benefit ourselves and our fellow creatures on this planet. And we may even, as I'm sure you might have wondered, make contact with other human beings in other places, other galaxies there. So I'm sure that your loved ones have been very instrumental in producing the impulses for me to open the book and find you that message. So I hope that on this wonderful day that we have been given together, that has uplifted you and given you some encouragement. So I've got lots of different. Oh, Karen, very. Oh, good. Oh, wow. That's really good. Yeah. There you are, Karen. You're now famous for having the middle name with a G in it. We all know it now. We'll have to guess what it is. And we have these, what they call live viewer comments. Oh, I'll hide that now. I'm not terribly au fait yet with all this, but I'm hoping that you'll be enjoying this. Now, H. Now, here is your verse for this lovely day. Our Father God, who art in heaven, is manifest on earth. His living breath ignites a spark that kindles us at birth. A conscience he has given us, and freedom of the will, that we may make a choice between the powers of good and ill, and none so wayward of his sons and daughters, that they do not possess within their being a particle of God's own consciousness. That's exactly what we were talking about, wasn't it? Well, of course, I was prompted to say all those things. And none so abject, nor so lost, so ignorant or blind, that he may not retrace his steps towards the Father kind. We need not fear the clashing din of earthly life's alarms, for God the Father holds us in his everlasting arms. There, that was lovely, wasn't it? That was written by Sylvia Barbanel. She was the wife of Maurice Barbanel, the famous trance medium for the Silver Birch teachings, and also the founding editor of Psychic News, the newspaper that I myself became editor of. She said, splitting those infinitives up. I became editor of Psychic News in 1996, and I sat at Maurice Barbanel's desk. It was always his, never mine. And until 2003. And Sylvia was a great campaigner for animal rights and Beauty Without Cruelty, along with Lady Dowding, who founded that. And she was also, as you have just heard, a wonderful hymn writer and poet there. So that sort of connects us all up, doesn't it? And there you are. And that was if your initial was H. And I would say this, that what I received from all those loved ones over there towards H is this wonderful warmth of feeling, and to try and cheer you up at what has been a really difficult time for you because you are so sensitive. There you are. So I'm giving you that message from all of those over there who love you. And I hope that you enjoyed that. And of course, for people who had not got the initial H, you must take from it the upliftment and love that is swirling around towards all of us who are connected up this morning, and all other times when people are listening to this or watching, or that all those channels are opened, and it's like sort of opening your mind as you connect and listen, so your loved ones will come in there and give you that boost that you need. Now we've come to the letter I, and I've already been, do you know what, I didn't even know I was opening this book, but I'd opened it And here we have got your message. They come at morn and dewy eve, at radiant noon and midnight hour, to breathe their message, or to leave the inward tokens of their power. Think not their home is far away from human sympathy and love, nor, when desired, that they delay to leave their spirit home above. Their mission is the work of love to kindred in the earthly home, and we with joy their work approve, and often kindly beg them come. Thrice gladly they the call obey, when yearning hearts their thoughts do give, receive their love, their care repay, in their communion joyous live. There. Wow. They were listening, weren't they all? They were listening to what we were saying. They're listening to your thoughts. And even those of you who may be thinking, oh, well, you know, this could do for anybody, really. It's general. No. Please listen to the facts of the case, that there is no way that I chose that for myself. I was being prompted, and it echoed precisely, really, all that we've been speaking about. So if you are actually the person in question, then I would say to you that you need to put away from yourself all doubt, because, you know, the best of people doubt, but you tend to doubt too much. And please put your trust in those who love you on the other side of life, and know that everything is going to get a lot better. Whatever the situation is for you now, that it will actually repair and get better as time goes on. That's the truth I'm telling you, because I'm getting that information from them over there, and they are never, ever wrong. So there we are. Everything they say is sanctioned by God, ultimately. It's like having the big boss looking over your shoulder. And now we come to the last for today, which is J. And I'll close the book. Here we are. And I'm going to reopen it again. It's a random page that they have asked me. Right, okay, let's see what this is. And this is for you if your initial is J of any of your names. Sing to the Lord a joyful song. Lift up your hearts and voices raise. To us his gracious gifts belong. To him our songs of love and praise. For life and love, for rest and food, for daily help and nightly care, sing to the Lord, for he is good, and praise his name with every prayer. For strength to those who on him wait, his truth to prove, his will to do, praise you our God, for he is great. Trust in his name, for it is true. For joys untold, which from above cheer those who love his high employ, sing to our God, for he is love. Exalt his name, for it is joy. And that's based on Psalm 145, the first two verses. And it was written by John Samuel Monsell. We thank him very much for that. But we have been prompted to pursue that path of joy, that we should not be despairing, we should not be sad, we should trust in the best and trust in the future, that everything's going to be all right. I think also for you, Jay, I see changes in your life for the better. I see things around you moving around and accommodating you more. I will trust that you'll receive all the healing that you need from above. We say above, but of course they're all around us. As Lizzie Doughton said in her poem, all around us. And of course, Harriet Beecher Stowe, wonderful writer and civil rights worker and abolitionist, she actually was also a spiritualist, And she said they lie around us like a cloud there. So it's almost like that. So I hope that you've enjoyed our talk today, this morning. And Denise, oh look, hi from a wet, wild but beautiful North Yorkshire. Yes, a good friend, Denise. And I'm sure that she's been out to her church service this morning. And, you know, we, like I said, we all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different cultures. We're all of different colours, and we've all had different upbringings and different experience of life. But what brings us all together is the knowledge that God is good, that God is a God of mercy and kindness and caring, and we should try to be more like God in ourselves. That's our aim, isn't it? To make the earth plane more like heaven, because we know that over there everything is beautiful for those who live reasonably decent lives down here. Nobody is perfect down here. That's one thing that we have to come to terms with. You cannot be perfect. Everybody has faults, you know, and we're not just talking about physical difficulties or mental difficulties, just the whole thing, the whole Megillah, as Jesus would have called it. You know, we come here crying. We don't come here laughing or smiling. You know, I've said this so often, you know, we come here in this fleshly body helpless. We get pushed out away from our mother, who we've grown with, and you know, with the help of God, of course. God has knitted us in our womb. That's what King David sang about, and he knew all about it too. And the fact is that we were made, all of us, in the image of spirit, because that is, you know, that is our perfect pattern, if you like. When we get here, we got these bodies that we have to cope with, and we come out crying and screaming. If we don't, they hit us to make us cry, apparently. Fortunately, I don't know anybody who can remember that. Although some people do remember coming down a tunnel with light at the end of it. And of course, that's the way we go back, but not in the same way, in the spirit way. But in the physical way, we come through, see this light, and we don't want to come into that sort of light, because where we've been, although it is dark to us, it has the light of God there. So in our very darkest places, the light of God shines. It's in the very darkest place that life is made, that life is conceived, that cataclysmic explosion of life occurs in what we think is thick darkness. But in fact, to the spirit world, there is God's light in that. So I'll leave you with those thoughts, shall I? That it doesn't matter if you came out into this world crying, and that you've cried plenty since, because that's what we do, isn't it? And I've always thought that sometimes perhaps my swollen ankles were to do with not crying enough, because I try not to cry because I think it's a bit sissy, and you know, it doesn't help anybody. But maybe it does in a way. Okay, even Jesus himself wept, so perhaps we should not be ashamed of weeping. So there you are. I hope that you've been uplifted somewhat, that you will get yourself a message. All of you can just get some nice book, poems, a hymn book. And as I've often said before, if you're going to use the Bible, beware, because you might get more than you bargained for with that, because you'll get all those prophets coming in going, you know, you're not doing it right. But anyway, I will wish you a very good day today on this Sunday. I hope that if you go to a place of worship other than a spiritualist church, that you enjoy the upliftment that you receive from that. But remember, life is eternal for everyone, everyone. And when Jesus said, love each other, he meant it. He didn't say go out and hate somebody. He said love. And that's what I try and uphold myself in every way that I can. So I say God bless you, and wish you healing and comfort for the rest of today. And I'll speak with you again soon and bring you some messages for the next 5 letters of the alphabet. Bye for now. God bless you.